Okay, this is going to be a review for X-Men number 1 through 5, which is written by Victor Gischler, and this is the main title of the Curse of the Mutants event. I'm going to say, honestly, if you saw my first thoughts video on this, you knew I wasn't too pleased by it. I actually have to say this is a semi-decent story. Now, it's not particularly well written, and I'm not too overtly fond of the vampires that just siege Utopia in this story. It's just nothing more than filler material, and it's the type that I would just read once and then stuff away in the long box, not to be looked at for a long time to come. The story started out with a prequel in the Death of Dracula one-shot, which was also done by Gischler. Dracula was revived following vampire state from Captain Britain by some of his followers, and in an act of regicide, Dracula's son Janus kills him, chops his body up to make sure that he can't come back as he always does, and asserts himself as Lord of the Vampires. Janus has this master plan to bite and turn as many mutants as possible in order to strengthen their numbers, as well as have some cannon fodder to better help take over humanity. He even tried pleading a few times to the mutants' mutual dislike of humanity that the vampires share, and the fact that they've been persecuted by them for so long. Naturally, this doesn't fly with Scott Summers, and he mounts counterattacks in all forms. X-Men 1 through 5, or actually 1 through 6, is the main book of the storyline. I read the Blade one-shot. It sucked. Basically, it just told how he got there. He's there just to fight vampires, and besides that, he's not really that much interesting. There's actually a 2-part miniseries and a 1-part, or a 1-shot for Storm and Gambit. I read none of those, and a miniseries from Namor, which I don't care about. He's fighting some kind of underwater vampires or something, which I don't give a shit about. This review primarily just covers X-Men 1 through 5, and I'll review number 6 later on. By the way, before I get into this review, I did not review the final issues of Second Coming. I apologize for that. I'll re-review the event sometime later on after this and include that ending. So, anyways, on to this. The story opens up with a vampire suicide bomber in San Diego that takes himself out of his clothes and blows himself up in the sun. The blood that hits pretty much anybody will infect them, and this includes Jubilee, who has been depowered, but she turns into a pseudo-vampire nevertheless, and runs off to Xanthus' side. Cyclops naturally sends Wolverine off to get her back, but he's bitten in the process by her and becomes Vampire Wolverine. I know I'm kind of skimming over these issues, but while I said it's interesting to read, it's not really memorable. In fact, there's not really much I care to talk about for the rest of it. This is nothing more than just filler material for the Protected Serve storyline, which is coming up in January. Anything more I can say about this? Cyclops is trying to become the fearless leader in this story, and he comes off like a dick a lot of times. Emma Frost still dresses like a slut and is hoity-toity, or why the fuck do I want to say hoity-toity? She's just as shallow as she usually is, and Wolverine is kind of thrown into an over-the-top situation, pretty much as he is anywhere. I find it very funny that he's become a vampire in this story at the same time that in another story, which is his own series, which for God knows whatever reason, because Marvel wants to contribute to that big pile of money they already have, he's killed, sent to hell, and his body is possessed by a demon. Obviously this takes place sometime before or after that, but I just find that kind of funny that they're both running at the same time. Wolverine is pretty much everywhere, and he's pretty much the glory hound of this X-Men book, like he is just about everything else he's in. It's a quick story to go through, not really much to happen about it. I do also have a complaint about Dracula, obviously from the series, from the one shot, and he is revived in issue 3 of the series. He's brought back to be sort of the secret weapon against Xeris, and Cyclops wants him as an ally, but when Dracula walks off, no thanks given to the X-Men, saying that he'll deal with Xanus himself. And Cyclops just sits there and smirks, and yeah, this is all going to plan. I have no idea what all this means, but it's supposed to play itself out in the final issue. The best thing I can say about this, if you're an X-Men fan like me, you'll probably have picked it up, and you'll probably either like it or hate it, like I find myself conflicted to do right now. And mostly it's just because of this filler story that I don't give a shit. It's just passing time. As to anybody else, I'd recommend that you avoid this. If you want a good jumping on point for the X-Men, by Victor Gisler, wait till January when issue 7 comes out, and it'll start the Protect and Serve storyline, which will actually assert the X-Men back as to trying to be heroes within the rest of the world. So that's pretty much it.